Today we're in Malibu, California hanging out with Ted Gushue. Ted is the executive editor of Petrolicious.com, which is one of the coolest car blogs out there, known for its short films on some of the best cars in the world. Before that, Ted was the executive editor and founder of Supercompressor.com, which is now part of the Petrolicious Media Group. Ted is a car enthusiast, he's a friend, and he's a watch guy. Today we're going to learn a little bit more about Ted and hear some really great watch stories.
New York originally. Born and raised in Connecticut, moved to New York the second I graduated, kind of just never even passed my house on the way to the city. Professional DJ for 2 years, that was the first job I could get in New York. Meeting a lot of interesting people the kind of people that had the money and the time to stay out late at night on like a Tuesday. From there, a friend of mine was running a newspaper called the New York Observer. I became a nightlife reporter for them. I met a zillion people, just basically was somebody that didn't know what they wanted to do. But knew that publishing was interesting to them and knew that kind of savoir-faire around what you were able to do in terms of storytelling was something that I learned I liked doing. Came up with the idea for a site called Supercompressor, which I ran for 2 years. Sold out of that, was approached by Afshin Bania, the editor and founder of Petrolicious.com. He was looking for somebody to take the editorial portion of what is, I think, one of the most respected automotive video outlets in the world and scale that. We've taken a really, really lovely supporting product to a really robust video product and built that into a whole ecosystem for people to come in and talk about all aspects of classic cars. That's what I believe the future of our industry is, just hyper-focused specialization, really honest conversations with really great people. 88 sub, 5513, it's the classic. A lot of guys aren't big on the piano key dial. I don't mind it. It's a special watch because it's what everyone thinks of a Rolex when they think of a Rolex. I think that's probably, maybe outside of the date just. I can swim in it, I can shower in it, I can the band's nice and loose. It fits like a glove. It looks good with everything. I can wear it with a blue blazer, I can wear it with a t-shirt. I can put a backwards cap on if I had to, and nobody would give me shit for it. It's just the universal watch, and that design obviously has been imitated in so many different ways by so many different places. It's the watch that you get given. It's the watch it's something that is a family heirloom that gets passed on, and they were built to last. They're not necessarily built to keep the best time, but they are metaphorical timekeepers. A moment that you shared with somebody. It was your father's watch. It was your grandfather's watch, it was your uncle's watch. They made a military version of it that went to war. It has a great history to it. And for me, the 5513 was just the one that I wanted to have representational as being the exact same age as I am. So I'm very proud of this watch, and I'm very proud to wear it. Everyone geeks out about the Newman Daytonas, right? They all go nuts for them. I never understood the couple $100,000 for those watches. I think they're kind of crazy, especially when there are watches like the Movado Datron that have the Zenith El Primera movement in them that were pre all of that. This watch came out a couple years before the Paul Newman Daytona even hit stores. Within true watch guy circles, people like to get nerdy about that stuff. I think you can appreciate how beautiful this watch is, and they're all still relatively obtainable. We didn't buy this one. My father's, one of his dearest friends passed away recently. Kind of a larger-than-life character. He used to sail his yacht around the world by himself. Like, always had a cigar in his mouth. Like, he was a big lawyer in New York, I think, and very, very boisterous, very cool dude. And he always had this watch on. He always had it on the original gold band it came on. When he passed, his wife left the watch and a couple other things to my father. My dad and I share our collections on everything. So whether it's a car, whether it's a watch, this is out here right now. It's our watch, and we look after it. I think men don't buy dive watches to go diving. Men buy dive watches to make women aware of the fact that at a moment's notice, they're capable of going 1,000 feet below the ocean. Everyone should own this watch. If you're a watch guy and you don't own this watch, $190 on Amazon or whatever they are, you can find vintage ones for not much more. You'll be hard-pressed to find someone who works in the diving industry that is not an owner of this watch. It is the most appreciated, used tool watch ever made, and they are affordable. If it falls off your wrist when you're diving, it's not the end of the world. They're bulletproof, they keep great time, they've got a day date, and they look just badass. It's a perfect watch to take on vacation. If you're going to a foreign country, just slap it to your wrist and like, don't worry about it. No one's gonna nick it from you. And if they do, you can just buy another one. It looks like the guy who actually does what James Bond pretends to do. It looks like the watch he would wear. And you can slap a NATO strap on it. You can put it on a Jubilee. You can put it on anything. So you can hit somebody with it if you have to. It's a great watch that if you are into watches, you should probably just own one. I've always wanted a Pepsi Dial GMT. My father was given one by my mother. I don't know how much you know about New York, but there's this big sculpture in Cooper Square, three-dimensional cube that's on its axis. You can actually spin it. There's a little hole in the middle. She took the watch in the box and hid it in there and spun the cube around. And my dad was standing there. He reached in, grabbed it, pulled it out. She bought it with a bonus she got from Hearst Publications. He didn't take it off. He never took it off. I'd always wanted to inherit that watch someday. I thought it was kind of like my, primogeniture birthright. He traded it for the Rolex Daytona, which is a great watch. I was working with a Rolex dealer, helping them out in some stuff, and I told him the story, told him the wear pattern it had, and he found what is as close as you could possibly get to the watch that my dad sold, and he sent it to me as a gift. I got to know Bradley Price at Editorial a couple years ago. He's one of those rare people that says he's going to do something and then does it way better than you ever thought he'd be able to do it. His background was like designing industrial products. He designed cell phones for Samsung. And he just saw this hole in the marketplace that has since been tried to be filled by a couple different brands that haven't really done it the same way, where you would take a car that was something that was iconic. In this case, it's a Group B race car. Crystallize the meaning of that car and the importance of that car to its community into a timepiece that would allow you to basically look at it every single day on your wrist. And so this watch it's called the Group B Evoluzione. The back is titanium. It's got a Japanese movement in it. It's automatic, and it looks like a dial from a race car from the 1980s. And the edges are severe. It's a little bit brutal. It's lightweight. It feels purpose-built, and the strap is roughly the exact same material and style that you would have on a racing harness that was buckling you in. I think Bradley does a really great job of creating a product that has integrity. Growing up, I was always around interesting cars. I was brought home from the hospital in 1982, 911 SC. My grandfather was a tinkerer. He's an engineer by trade. We've never owned new anything. We've always had to have an old car that was designed with purpose. We've always had interesting Range Rovers. Every car had to have a story. That was my childhood. We were never a big money family. We just spent it all on little objects of pure design and idea. It's a decision I think that my family made a long time ago to value everything in their life, whether it's a vacation rental house or it's a watch on your wrist or it's a car you're driving down the street. It had to be something that was built with purpose. Was this thing designed by somebody who cared? And that's something that I've carried through and I've grown to appreciate as something that was kind of imbued in me when I moved out here, when I started really focusing on what all these things actually mean and meeting a lot of people like that. Parallel I draw is that these are tiny little engines on our wrist. The scale at which these things are built and the scale at which old watches were built before technology allowed us to measure Newton meters and nanometers and all these infinitesimal measurements, they were doing that on instruments that were largely unchanged for hundreds of years. Anyone who appreciates the mechanical ballet of a car, it's the same thing, just scaled down. There's an external design to the way the thing looks. There's an internal engineering to the way that the thing actually operates. And there is this beautiful synchronicity between those because you can't have one without the other. It's love and marriage.